Mr. Aritra Chatterjee, modeling the activity-based travel pattern.
Good morning, everyone. My topic is modeling the activity-based travel pattern of workers of the city, of an Indian metropolitan city. My case study was Kolkata, the city of joy, and Professor P.K. Sarkar was my guide and co-authored this study. Our presentation will be followed from first is the research context, then this methodology, then the literature review of this activity-based modeling pattern all over the world, and then the city profile, and then we do the data analysis of this activity-based model, and last we try to develop a activity-based traveling model to evaluate the people's behavior. Activity-based modeling is the third generation of model. Like first generation is the four-stage modeling, which was evolved in 1950s. Then the disaggregate model in 1980s, and after 1990s, this activity-based modeling pattern come. And for activity-based modeling, there's mainly three things there. Like it considered travel as a derived demand, and then it considered the trips all are as linked trips, not as individual, and it considers all the attribute at disaggregate level. And like in four-stage modeling, some deficiencies are there, like it has a aggregate bias. It does not consider a person with a lower income group all in a same bracket. It does not consider in as a disaggregate level, and it consider all the trips as same, like no interlink between trips is there. So activity-based modeling has advantage over this. And our objective was three objectives mainly. Like first is to study their people's travel behavior according to the activity. Then develop this activity-based model for people's estimation of people's travel demand. And last is their mode choice behavior according to their personal attributes. Like for activity-based modeling, the basic three concept is there, like trip, tour, and activity. Like trip is like, here is an example, a person is traveling from home to his work, then work to the shopping, and from shopping he comes back to home. So there is two trips, one is home-based trip and another is non-home-based trip. But it has only one tour, like tour is starting from the same place and ending at the same place, and it may contains one or more trips. And activity is just like the same will be number of trips also. Like here two activities there, same as trips. So like if we see it in normal trip-based approach, like we will consider there is two trips. But suppose one day the person will not go to work, then suppose he must not go to the shopping also. So these two trips will not happen. But in trip-based approach, as we considering it as separately, so we'll just consider the second trip, and we will not consider the first trip. So there will be a calculation error. But if in activity-based modeling, if we suppose the person is not doing the work trip, we will say that he is not doing any tour on that day. And for literature search, I studied some literature from India as well as some advanced US research also. And in India, there are generally very few research in India in that, but in US and UK, there are more number of research in that, and people generally model this top-making behavior, mode choice behavior using this activity-based modeling. And finding from the literature are like activity-based modeling has direct bearing of their social attribute of a person, like his income, his gender, his age, all that thing. And like status of research is like in foreign advanced countries like UK or US, they are already in policy level, they are considering it. Like in NTEM in UK, they have the timing of the trip also. So here comes my study area. My study area is Kolkata, which is the third largest urban agglomeration in India right now, with a population of 1.5 million, 15 million people according to 2011 census, and it has workforce participation rate of around 40%, and according to the purpose of trips right now made, almost 60% trips are work trips. So if we model this worker trip making behavior, we can almost 2/3 of the total trips we can model it out through this. So some after collecting the data of all the workers, after analyzing with their personal attributes, like first is with tour with the income relationship we have considered, and for purpose we have like work, another is shopping and other necessary things like daily grocery shoppings, like paying utility bills and all that. Recreation means going to some relatives place or some recreational work, and education is like accompanying their children to the education like schools or tuitions. So we have found out that at gross level, like total tours, income does not have a very good effect, but if we consider is in disaggregate level like work, income has a very good effect, because people in the lower income group generally tends to work near their house to reduce the cost of travel, and because they are generally unskilled workers, so they easily find a work near to their home. But on the higher income groups, they don't find. So like in the lower income group, people like as they work very close to their house, they generally comes for the lunch to their home. So their work trip is more rather, compared to higher income people. And in gender also, like male has more like except work, male has more number of male workers have more number of trips rather than female worker, because like female worker generally in our Indian context, female does not like in transport system is not at that level that female are like to travel, but male are. So and then like we have found out that age has significant impact on activities participation as well as tour also. Like except work tour, like work tour is like working 5 days a week work tour is there, but for other activities, like with the increase in ages, the other activities increases, because after 30 or 35 people get married, they have a family, so they have other necessary things to do. So we can find out that at the age level of 50 to 55, it has in peaks, like more people have most of number of activities in at that level, but after that it decreases. And one thing is that like activity and tour both are there, so but the number of activities is more rather than tours, because if it is a, like the previous example I have given, one person is going from home to work to shopping then home, then it is actually a work tour, because work is the main purpose. So like shopping activity is there, but not shopping tour is there. So we can find out that number of shopping tours is less, but shopping activity is more compared to that. And another is that for mode choice also, like public transport comes out to be the main mode for work purpose, and we know that Kolkata has the highest percentage of share of public transport. Almost 60% people use public transport there, because the road network is not that very well that person can use car and find a very good parking place somewhere near. But there is a significant difference between male and female. Like female does not prefer public transport as much as male, because there is safety and comfort level is there. So they will sometimes use premium IPTs, which includes cabs and all, cabs and taxis, and IPT like auto rickshaws and another, like for non-work trip, we found out that for work trips, we found out that male all over the ages generally prefer public transport, but female with the increase in age, they prefer public transport, but female in the lower age group, they prefer generally premium IPTs, because the safety and security issue is the main thing for the choosing of modes. And for non-work trips, generally work is the main mode, because people tends to do this shopping and all that thing generally very near to their house. It will be convenient for them. So work comes out to be the main mode for that, and across the all age group. And for income, then we again find out that except people in the lower income group, all the people are using public transport, because lower income group people generally work very near to their house, so they just walk to their workplace. And for female also, like no work trip is there, because female generally does not prefer to work much. They take IPTs or sometimes. And for non-work trip also, like we found out that it's almost work is the main mode.
5 minutes, please.
Yeah. So from observation, we found out that age has the maximum influence on the trip rate, and gender also has the influence, and income does not show that much of influence on the total trip rate. But another thing we have found out that generally 4 type of worker is there. One is government worker, one is private sector worker, one is self-employed, and another is labor. But everyone has a significant different kind of trip making behavior. And another thing we found out that, like for example, government worker generally goes for this convenient shopping and grocery shopping in the morning, then comes home, then go to their office, because their office starts at 10 or after that, and they have very lenient time there. But private worker generally in the morning goes to office, and the time of returning home they generally does this shopping. So after analyzing it, we make using this SPSS software, we make equations for all the activities for weekdays, weekend, and as total week also. And we found out that like age, for all activities, age has the main influence. Then comes is the gender. It is, and we found out that R square value is very good if we study at aggregate level and for work also. But in disaggregate level, as we goes, the R square value is very less, because in disaggregate level, like the relationship not comes as good as like that. And for tour also, we have same type of equation we tried to make. And same thing we have found out that like the aggregate level it is showing a good relation, but at disaggregate level it's not. So after all this observation, we like some key findings we have found out from here, like age, income, gender, this type of things can be considered for it to estimate the trip rate, rather than just like in 4-stage modeling we consider the population and all that thing in an aggregate bias. So if we do this type of things, we can have more real time picture rather than miscalculations. And like for way forward, we can say that it is a it's very little step towards like a big policy making thing. Like it cannot give a direct result, but we can use it for further studies like CMPs and all that thing also. Thank you.